Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaman Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangam nangayati giram Yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So yesterday we did chapter 5 and the connection between chapter 4 and chapter 5, where chapter 4 was about transcendental knowledge and chapter 5 is actually about Nishkama Karma Yoga. So in chapter 4, in 2 shlokas, 41 and 42, the last 2 shlokas, Krishna says something that causes ambiguity or a little bit of confusion for Arjuna. And therefore, Arjuna asks a question to clarify this doubt that he had. Why did Arjuna get confused again? What exactly Krishna said in shloka number 41 and in shloka number 42 of the 4th chapter? So, in the 41st chapter, Krishna was glorifying jnana and vairagya, or renunciation or detachment. So in the 41st shloka, Krishna was glorifying jnana and renunciation. But immediately in the next shloka, Krishna then tells Arjuna, Uttishta Bharata, meaning stand up and fight. Stand up and fight. So Arjuna becomes bewildered again because he thinks jnana means to stop all material activities, disengage your senses, and just focus on studying the scriptures. But Krishna also said in the 42nd chapter that you work with devotion, and that working with devotion is very good. So Arjuna was thinking, Krishna, in one shloka you're saying stop working, in another shloka you're saying start working. In one shloka you're saying renounce everything, in the next shloka you're saying get up and fight. How can this confusion be reduced, Krishna? Therefore, Krishna is asked by Arjuna, please tell me once and for all which is better. Is renunciation better or is working in devotion better? Renunciation means to give up all material activities, which is like stopping your essential work. But working in devotion means you do all your duties and responsibilities, but you do it for the pleasure of Krishna. So Krishna says both the paths are conducive for liberation, but work in devotion is better because it's faster for you to reach me that way. Yesterday, towards the end of the class, I think if Shiva Prabhu is here, I'm not sure, he was asking a question about some confusion in his mind about ultimately all Jivatmas have to go back to Krishna. Isn't it? Because Krishna is so merciful. Definitely Krishna is merciful. But what we have to remember is that if we don't have a desire to go back to Krishna, we will not go back to Krishna. So first element is desire. The second element is we have to make an effort. If we don't make an effort to want to go back to Krishna, so without endeavor, you cannot reach Krishna. So the first is that you have to have a desire. Since you have a desire, you have to act on that desire. And therefore, some effort has to go in from your side. And then finally, you will get Krishna's mercy and he will accept you back into the spiritual world. So that's how it works. It is not that automatically you will go back to Krishna simply because you waited and waited and waited and finally thought, yeah, Krishna cannot reject me anymore. After all, I've been waiting for a long time. No, Krishna only accepts those who are willingly wanting to surrender to him. So first is you have to have a desire to go back to Krishna. Since you have a desire to go back to Krishna, you have to have endeavor. Endeavor means you must engage yourself, you must try, you must act in such a way that you want to go back to Krishna. And finally, by doing these two things, by having a deep desire and by working on that desire to go back to Krishna, then yes, you will experience Krishna's mercy in your life. So Krishna was talking about how to stay disentangled even when you work. And this is a very difficult thing to do. He's already given an example of Janaka Maharaj in the 3rd chapter. And let's look at a pastime of Janaka Maharaj. Janaka Maharaj was a great devotee of the Lord. He was also a very great king, very dharmic king. So in Arjuna's mind, if you have to perform bhakti or nishkama karma yoga, then you have to give up your work. If you want to focus on Krishna, you have to give up your work. At least that's what he thought. So his question was, is it really possible to work in this world and simultaneously think of Krishna? Think of Krishna being pleased. Is it possible? Because we have so many duties and responsibilities. How is it possible for us to remember Krishna when we are engaged in so many responsibilities? And it's in chapter 5 that Krishna says, yes, it's possible to remember me. And we'll look at this example of Janaka Maharaj. So can you imagine, if you're a king, how many responsibilities you'll have on a daily basis? So many challenges, so many problems to solve, disputes to resolve, to manage the treasury, to make sure the citizens are happy, to make sure the army is well prepared at any time for a potential war. So being a king, you could say, is probably the most stressful job. And in today's world, you could say being a head of a state is a very stressful job. Because you don't know what's going to happen the next second. You have to be prepared for the most unexpected thing to happen. When you're so busy taking care of the nation, can you actually think of Krishna? That's the question. So the same question was there in the minds of the rishis who are actually trying to meditate on Krishna. But somehow or the other, when they had a discussion among themselves, it is so difficult. Even after you give up everything and try to focus on Krishna, it's not that easy because your mind is like a monkey. And today's entire chapter is going to be about the mind. So is it possible to train the mind to think of Krishna all the time while you're busy with your day-to-day responsibilities? That is the question the rishis had. And since they knew that Janaka Maharaj was a practicing devotee, at the same time he had so many responsibilities, the sages thought, let's go and ask Janaka Maharaj, you're a great king, but you're also a great Vaishnava. You're a great devotee of the Lord. How do you manage to do both? How do you manage to take care of all of your responsibilities as a king? And at the same time, how are you able to think about Krishna or Narayana? So Janaka Maharaj said, yes, definitely it's possible to do both. And the sages asked, well, how is that possible? Because we've been trying it in the forest. We don't have any responsibilities like you do. Sitting all alone in the forest and trying to meditate, still we are not able to focus on Krishna. How are you saying you are able to do both? Janak Maharaj said, can you come back tomorrow? I will explain to you how it's done. So the next day, all the sages come. Janak Maharaj is ready for them. He says, I've prepared a wonderful prasadam feast for you. Before we discuss all serious topics, let's all honor prasadam. You are all my guest. I will personally serve you. Please take your seats and let us first make sure that we satisfy, your palates are satisfied. So he makes them sit all in a row and he personally begins to serve them prasadam. The sages were very happy. He's such a humble king. He's the ruler of the country, but here he is ready to serve us. That's what they were thinking. And as they were looking up at Janaka Maharaj as he was serving, each of them noticed that there was a sword hanging over their head by a very thin piece of silk. So every one of the sages had one sword dangling on his head. Now, of course, Janaka Maharaj noticed that they were all getting nervous. And the sages looked at him and said, my dear king, are you sure the sword is not going to fall on our head? The king said, you can trust me. You are safe. Don't worry. But the sages were not so sure. Who would want to risk their lives to have prasadam while a sword is dangling over your head and could fall at any minute on top of your head? So very quickly they finished their prasadam. They didn't probably relish the prasadam also. They were in such a hurry to get out from there. So everybody very quickly finished their prasadam. Then they washed their hands, feet and mouth. Our Vedic culture says that after you eat, you should rinse your mouth, you should wash your hands, you should also wash your feet. So that's Vedic culture. So anyway, the sages have honored their prasadam and Janak Maharaj asked them, are you all satisfied? Is there anything else that I can get you? And they said, oh no, we are satisfied. Thank you very much for providing us a nice feast. And I hope you're all really, really satisfied. So the sages were anxious to hear the answer from Janak Maharaj. And so they asked Janak Maharaj, you asked us to come today. And you said you'll tell us how you can do all your duties and responsibilities and still think about Krishna simultaneously. And Janaka Maharaj said, actually, I have a question for you. When you were all sitting and honoring prasadam, what were you thinking of? And the sages looked at each other and said, the only thing we could think of is the sword dangling on our head. We didn't know if we could risk sitting and honoring prasadam. So the king asked, but were you having prasadam at the same time? And they said, yes, yes. So you see, you were engaged in the act of honoring prasadam, but your mind was actually somewhere else. Where was their mind?
On the spot.
So they're doing their business of satisfying their palate. But where was the mind? The mind was on the soul. So Janaka Maharaj said, just like you were honoring prasadam, but your mind was elsewhere, thinking of the sword, similarly, it is possible to do your duties and responsibilities, but keep your mind engaged on Krishna. So in the same way, Krishna is also saying in chapter 5, yes, you can do both. You can work and also do bhakti simultaneously. So you don't have to give up anything to do bhakti. So in this way, Krishna is saying that working and doing bhakti is better than renouncing your work, because when you work and do bhakti, it will bring you to me much faster. So that was the crux of what Krishna talked about. Then, do you recall we talked about the three doers in this chapter, which is that it is the Jivatma that desires, the Paramatma that sanctions, and it is Prakriti that fulfills or implements the desire on behalf of the instructions received by them from the Supreme Lord. So who is at fault and who is the culprit? The culprit here is the Jivatma who had that desire. If the Jivatma has a material desire, then the Lord will just check to see what balances are there. And the Lord will simply fulfill that desire if there are adequate number of credits in the account. Then Krishna talks about how somebody who's a Nishkama Karma Yogi is actually able to see everybody with equal vision, Samadarshinaha. He can come across any species of life. He will always see the Atma and the Paramatma within them. And therefore, such a Samadarshi does not discriminate. He is fully satisfied within himself. He is looking for happiness within himself by contemplating on the Supreme. And therefore, he doesn't see anybody else as his enemy or as his supporter or non-supporter. So then you can ask that, then why many of us are not able to reach this stage? It's because the source of our misery. The source of our misery begins with our wanting to satisfy our senses. So Krishna says in Shlokas 22 to 25 in chapter 5, whatever happens, you please tolerate. Because everything has a beginning, middle, and an end. So Krishna says in the 23rd shloka, we must learn how to tolerate. Tolerate what? Tolerate not just what is happening to us, but also tolerate the urges that you get. Tell your mind, no, you will not have one extra pizza. Even the mind is suggesting that you should. So until the last breath, the mind will keep giving you so many options. You should learn to tolerate. Tolerate there means you need not act on everything that the mind recommends to you. Because you are not the mind. You are spirit soul. So controlling our senses is very difficult. But it is easy for someone who's looking for pleasure within themselves. If you look for pleasure outside of you, that is what creates suffering. If you look for pleasure within yourself, that can achieve that peace of mind. So Krishna talks about the peace formula in the 29th shloka. Bhoktaram yajñatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarva bhutanam nyatva mam shantim rachati. So Krishna is saying that he is our well-wisher, he is the best friend. He is the enjoyer of everything and he is the controller of all of the universe. And if we understand this, Krishna says you can achieve peace in this lifetime. Now, today's chapter, we're going to talk about the mind. And for this first time, we're also going to look at Ashtanga Yoga. If we practice self-discipline, the next stage that you will reach is what is called self-control. If you reach the stage of self-control, then you will develop self-awareness, which means when you contemplate on how your mind is behaving like a monkey, you can detach yourself from your mind and you can develop, yes, this is when the mind is nice to me and this is when the mind is wicked. And when you develop adequate self-awareness, you will reach the stage of self-realization. So therefore, we have to learn to manage our mind before we can try to manage anybody else. So really, the hard work we have to do, as per the Bhagavad Gita, is we have to work on ourselves first. We cannot work on anybody else because you don't control other people's mind. Unless you are an authoritarian person like Hitler, then you can play games with their mind. But generally, we cannot control anybody else's mind. We can only do our best to help ourselves and save ourselves. Okay. So first chapter, single word summary was lamentation. The second chapter, the single word summary was identity. In the third chapter, the single word summary was duty. In the fourth chapter, the single word summary was knowledge that is necessary to perform that duty in a very nice way. In the fifth chapter, if you perform your duty with the knowledge that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, then truly you will achieve peace.
Result.
The result is peace. And we all want a peaceful mind. When we say we want to be peaceful, we are really talking about the mind. If your mind is peaceful, everything else is peaceful. It's as simple as that. Okay. So I have a question for you. Can you see the question? Can you respond to the question? Since our topic is mind. So my question to you is the mind your friend most of the time? Is it your enemy most of the time? Or sometimes it's your friend, sometimes it's your enemy? What do you experience?
Sometimes it's a friend and sometimes it's an enemy.
Yes. So majority of you are saying sometimes your mind is your friend. And sometimes your mind really betrays you. It becomes your enemy. It gives you all lousy choices. And somehow or the other you fall for it. And before you know it, things get out of control. So yes. So sometimes the mind is your friend. And sometimes the mind is your enemy. And that's what we're going to look at today. So Krishna has talked about how you can do a karma by doing Nishkama Karma Yoga in chapter 5. To do a karma properly, we have to learn to control the mind. How can we work without attachment to results, which is what Krishna is talking about in chapter 5. To work, but to work for the pleasure of Krishna and you not worry about whether you're going to get the results of your work or not. That means Nishkama Karma Yoga means working out of a sense of duty or responsibility, but not having any desire for any result. Whatever result comes, you will accept it. But this requires tremendous amount of practice. And to think that way. So let us say, I'm going to go join a competition for Bhagavad Gita, where I have to recite some shlokas. I have worked very, very hard to memorize the shlokas. Obviously, when I go to participate in the competition, I want to do well. I want to win. I want to get a certificate. This evening, we were talking about the Gita Olympiad that is conducted by ISKCON. And ISKCON, this is for children primarily. And ISKCON gives out some lovely prizes for reading the Bhagavad Gita and taking the tests. So let us say I prepare myself for it. And I think, yeah, definitely I will win. Are you detached from the result or are you attached to the result in this situation? If your mind is telling you, definitely I will win, and it's looking forward to it.
Detached.
Attachment.
Attached or detached?
Attached. If you
Attached.
are thinking of a fruit, yes, attached.
Because you're thinking about, what will I get?
I will win.
I will win. When will I get that email? When will I get that phone call? When somebody says, yes, you have won. This is working with attachment. But let us say I still wanted to participate in the Bhagavad Gita competition. I memorize the shlokas nicely. I offer a prayer to Krishna and say, Krishna, I'm doing this for you. Hopefully, not only will I memorize the shloka, but I'll be able to follow them also. And when after you finish the exam, you tell Krishna, Krishna, whatever is your desire, I'll be happy with the outcome. Are you attached or detached?
Detached.
Detached.
Detached. Because you've done your best, you've put in your effort, you've studied, you worked hard. Now the results are in Krishna's hands, not in your hands. This is very difficult to do. Very difficult to do. Therefore, it is the mind that is the problem, because the mind doesn't allow you to let things go. Your mind keeps thinking, but why I didn't win? Why I didn't score high? Why that person won the prize? Oh, I was so unlucky. So the first 9 shlokas look at the mind. Is it our friend? Is it our enemy? So you're going to hear from Krishna what he says. Then Krishna will talk about one way in which you can manage your mind is by doing Ashtanga Yoga. So Krishna will talk in detail how you should sit, where you should sit, what are the things you should give up, how should you practice Ashtanga Yoga, how you should slowly detach the mind. Krishna will talk about the step-by-step process at high level of Ashtanga Yoga. So then Arjuna is listening to all of this, and then Arjuna says, okay, if I practice Ashtanga Yoga, what if I don't succeed? All this holding the nose this way, sitting this way, keeping the posture that way, withdrawing my senses, starting to meditate on myself. What if I don't succeed? What will happen? Is it just a waste of time, waste of energy? We recently heard a story about an unsuccessful yogi. Who was that? In one of our classes. Somebody who was doing meditation underwater. Did we hear the pastime? Who got distracted by the fish? Shaubari Rishi. Just a mere fish threw him out of meditation. Similarly, Arjuna is asking Krishna, well, what if I try so hard? There are many yogis who tried. Do you think every single yogi succeeded? The majority of them may not have succeeded. So Arjuna is thinking, my God, after making so much commitment, so much effort, what if I fail? So Arjuna is asking Krishna, what happens to those yogis who tried very hard, all of this yoga, that yoga, and they didn't succeed? So we'll wait to see what Krishna says. If you put in the effort and you didn't get the outcome, just now we said we shouldn't worry about the outcome. But still, Arjuna is asking that question. What if they don't get the outcome for the purpose for which they were following a particular process? And then you will hear from Krishna his opinion on who he thinks is the highest yogi. So to the question, whether friend or foe, the nature of the mind is that it is both your friend and your enemy. Sometimes it's your friend, sometimes it's your enemy. So first, Krishna is saying we need to understand the nature of the mind. then we need to understand what is really yoga. So in Shloka 6, Krishna is saying about the mind. Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmana jitah anatmanastu shatrutve vartetatmaiva shatruvat. Krishna is telling Arjuna, for him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. So Krishna is saying it all depends on how you've given training to the mind. If you've trained your mind to become your friend, then yes, it will act as a friend. If you've trained your mind to act against your own self-interest, then yes, your mind will become the greatest enemy. So when we all try to chant, that's when we realize how much it is difficult to control the mind. Only when we sit down to chant, that is when the mind will be totally disturbed. Giving you this suggestion, that suggestion, reminding you, you forgot this, you didn't do this. Your mind is supposed to focus on japa, but that's when the mind becomes your enemy. It's saying, don't worry about your japa. You forgot to turn off this, or you forgot to pay that person. So constantly the mind is chattering. So if you allow your mind to become disobedient, then how can your mind be your friend? It is impossible. So the mind has to be trained to figure out what is reality and what is false. So the mind has to be trained to observe the right choices. So let us say, for example, some sumptuous prasadam is kept before you, and you're eager to taste every one of them because they look so delectable, and suddenly you get bad news on a phone call. Will your mind be attracted to that food?
No.
No. What happened? Why would your mind lose interest in that food suddenly?
Mind is distracted towards other thing.
Huh?
That bad news. Mind is distracted toward that bad news.
The mind is now filled with the bad news. It's no longer able to focus on the feast in front of your eyes. Similarly, you've got some 2-day-old chapati sitting in the fridge. You take it out, it looks pathetic, but still you think, okay, let me warm it up and see if I can have this for lunch. And suddenly you get the best news in life on the phone call. You wouldn't care about the taste of the chapati. You'll still eat it because your mind is so deliriously happy, even though the food is old. So when your mind is fed happy news, it is happy. When your mind encounters bad news, it becomes disturbed. So mind is the key to understand reality. If you don't understand how your mind operates, then you are living in illusion most of the time, because you are being controlled by your mind. Remember, we said it's as if the master has suddenly become the servant has become the master. Such a situation will be very chaotic. So if your mind, if all of your expectations that are there in your mind, if your expectations are met, the mind experiences happiness. If the expectations that the mind has, if they are not met, then the mind becomes unhappy, disappointed. So for example, let us say you have to stand in queue to get your Aadhaar card. You know, any government office you go, you're likely to spend 2-3 hours there. So your mind has already been told that you can expect to spend 2-3 hours in order to get your whatever government ID. So your mind is anticipating that. But you go to the office and it takes 7 hours. What will happen to your mind? You went in prepared thinking 2 hours maximum it will take. Within 2 hours, my work will get completed. But you're standing there and standing there and standing there. It's become 6 hours. What will be the condition of your mind?
Frustrated.
Frustrated. Now think you want to go see Balaji in Tirupati. Your mind is already prepared. I may have to stand in line if it's the Sarva Darshan queue, maybe for 5-6 hours. So the mind is already prepared to wait for 5-6 hours. So you see how much the mind anticipates. And when the mind is anticipating something to happen, and if it does not happen, then it gets frustrated. Now, if I were to tell you, today is the 6th chapter, after addressing the 6th chapter in the mind, if I tell each one of you, I want to see you early morning japa tomorrow at 5 a.m. in the morning, 99.99% of you will not show up. But if you tell your mind, if you go for 5 a.m. Mangala Arathi chanting, you will get 5 lakhs. Then 100% of you will come for chanting tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. What has changed?
Then I see the money.
That means all along you have trained your mind that money is very important. If something is attached to money, you're likely to take a call to act on it because you know you'll get the money. So all your life you've trained your mind, money is very important. So if you've trained your mind that money is important, 100% of you will come for Mangala Arathi chanting. If you've told your mind 5 lakhs is yours if you come for chanting at 5 a.m. So you see how everything depends on how you train the mind. Now, these 5 horses here depict the 5 different senses. What are our senses? Our eyes, our nose, our mouth, our ears, our skin. These are all the way we experience the world through the Panchendriyas. If this horse did not have the rope tied to its mouth, since there are 5 of them, what would happen to the person trying to control the horses? What would happen to the horses?
They will be controlled.
The horses will move in different directions. Imagine if 5 horses choose to go in different directions. What will be the condition of the chariot, the person trying to drive the chariot, and the person sitting as the passenger in the chariot? Will they all be happy? Will they be comfortable? So the reason this particular diagram or photo is being used is to as an analogy. Since we have 5 different senses, if the mind, which is equivalent to the rope here, the rope that is being used to control the direction in which the horse moves. So the horses are the senses. The rope to control the horse is the mind. And the person trying to control the rope is the intelligence, the charioteer. And who is the passenger? The soul. So soul is just completely helpless. So suddenly the servants are trying to become master and it will create chaos. Of course, the chariot is equivalent to your external physical body. So this is how uncontrollable the mind can be. If there is no rope to control the horses, they will move in different directions. Similarly, if we don't learn to control the mind, then the mind will take us in different directions as per where the senses are taking you. So we said first we have to understand the mind, then we have to understand what it means to do yoga. So what's the definition of yoga? Yoga comes from the word yuj. Yuj means connection. Connection between whom? It is the connection between Jivatma and Paramatma that is called yoga. The Jivatma trying to connect back with the Lord is actually yoga. Connection. You have severed your connection and you're trying to resurrect it. But what is not yoga? Yoga is not breathing exercise. It's not physical exercise. It is not going and sitting in the Himalayas. It is not living in the forest. Yoga means a process that is followed to control the mind. It is not just a physical exercise. Yes, physical exercise is part of what we are learning. But so it may begin with some physical exercise. It also begins with certain do's and don'ts. So say for example, I've given you a bag of mallipu. You know what mallipu is? Jasmine flowers. In your hand, and I've asked you to put your hand inside that bag and keep it there for 5 minutes. How would your hand smell?
Good smell.
Very good smell. Now I give you a bag of rotten tomatoes and ask you to put your hand in it. How would your hand smell now?
Rotten smell.
The rotten smell. Mind is the same way. If you allow your mind to dip in rotten things, then the mind will take on the smell of the rotten thing. Similarly, if the mind is exposed to nice things, then it will take on those qualities. So it is so easy to control the mind. You just have to figure out where you want to direct your mind to. So in this Ashtanga Yoga process, it is said that you begin with Yam, then go to Niyam, then Asana, Pranayama. Pranayama means breath control. Pratyahara means withdrawing your senses. Withdrawing your senses from what? From the external world. Dharana, now you're concentrating on your own Atma. Dhyana, you are absorbed in meditation now. Finally, you reach the stage of Samadhi, where the Jivatma is in union with Paramatma. So, let us say I have given you a glass of dirty water and I ask you to keep pouring clean water into that dirty glass. What will happen over a period of time? If you keep pouring clean water into a glass of dirty water, what will happen to that glass of dirty water?
Dirty water will be clean.
Yes. Same way, Even though the mind is not clean, you still have to do japa all the time. The more japa you do, the more japa you do, the more japa and chanting you do, over a period of time, your heart, your consciousness will get cleansed. Without a doubt, you don't have to do anything more. Therefore, we were emphasizing chanting over the last 2 days. Therefore, we were encouraging you to come and chant at least for 10 minutes before the class, because chanting cleanses your mind. You may not know how it operates on your mind, but you can take it from practitioners that it will positively influence your mind. So this is the high level definition of Ashtanga Yoga. Do's and don'ts, yam and niyam, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So what do do's means? Yama means to do. It's external disciplines. For example, ahimsa, practicing non-violence. Satya, being honest. Asteya, not stealing. Brahmacharya, controlling your sexual urges. Apparigraha means ready to give up attachment to anything, not having possessiveness that this is mine. These are all called yama. Niyama means internal discipline. So one is external discipline. The other is internal discipline. For example, shauchaha, meaning being pure.
Cleanliness.
Then santosha, being content. Tapas, meaning some amount of self-austerity, self-discipline. Swadhyaya, self-study or study of the scriptures. Then, finally, you reach the stage of surrender. Ishvara Pranadhana. That is the fifth niyama, which is to surrender to the Supreme. So, the Ashtanga Yoga practice is both for the body as well as for the mind. But primarily, it's there to help you control the mind, and then ultimately, when your mind is peaceful, it can connect to Krishna. It's easy to connect to Krishna when your mind is at peace. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, this is how you do Ashtanga Yoga. So a couple of shlokas here, shlokas 13 and 14. Samam kaya shiro grivam dharayanna chalam sthiraha sampreksha nasikagram swam dishaschanavalokayan prashantatma vigatabhihi brahmachari vrate sthitaha manas samyamyachittaha yukta asita matparaha. Look at the details Krishna is giving on how to begin practicing Ashtanga Yoga. One should hold one's body, neck and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose, which is difficult to do. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. So this is how you're supposed to begin your practice of Ashtanga Yoga. Your seating posture, what your mind should be thinking of, and how your mind should be engaged. So these are all the details that Krishna is getting into. So how do you control the mind actually? So Arjuna says, it's very difficult to control the mind, Krishna. But Krishna says, yato yato nischalati manas chanchalam asthiram Tatastato niyam yaitat atmanyeva vasham nayet. From wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. So Krishna is acknowledging mind is not easy to control. He knows the more you try to focus on something, the more the mind is going to take you away from that something. You know, I've been to some management sessions where, you know, external trainers come and train you. And one of the tricks that they have is they will tell you to, they will mention something and then they will tell you, don't think about it. They'll say, imagine a blue monkey sitting on the wall. Now forget the monkey, forget that it is blue. The minute they've said that, the mind becomes attached to a blue monkey. So that is how the power of suggestion is so strong to overcome with the mind, because the mind immediately latches onto something. So when we do japa also, the mind tends to wander. So we have to concentrate on the chanting, and Krishna is saying, pull the mind back. I can't see the mind. How am I going to pull the mind back? What trick is there that I have that I can pull the mind back? You have to reorient the mind to say, what are you doing? You have to scold your mind. His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say, when you get up in the morning, you know, beat your mind with the jadu 100 times. And then pick up your shoes and beat your mind some more. Because the mind is so disobedient. The mind is trying to control you. The servant is trying to be the master, and that's a disaster. Yeah. So there is a nice little story about this before we get to Arjuna complaining about this. So once upon a time, a young man decides, you know what, I will go to the forest, I will do meditation. I'm done with all of this life. I'll just go and focus on myself. So he wants to be alone. So he's sitting in the forest. He's found a nice place to sit in the proper posture that Krishna is talking about. And he's just sat down for his meditation. And somehow or the other, one beautiful girl walks in front of him. And he gets distracted. He said, "Chah, these eyes have let me down." So he decides, okay, I will take some torn piece of cloth and cover my eyes, tie up my eyes so I can never see, because my eyes are wandering here and there and I'm getting distracted. So he did that. Next day, he thinks, okay, I'm good now. My eyes are closed. I will meditate. And as he's closed his eyes and he's meditating, he hears anklets, ankle bells. And he thought to himself, my God, that girl has come again. This time she's wearing ankles. And I can hear her. My ear is disturbing me. Let me plug my ears. I don't want to hear anything. So now he's closed his eyes and plugged his ears. Next day he's thinking, okay, my meditation is going to go really well. No distractions. Following day, that girl walks by with beautiful jasmine flowers in her hair, and he smells it. And he's thinking, one by one, my senses are letting me down. So he decides to close his nose. Now he thinks, okay, eyes are closed, nose is closed, ears are closed, no other distraction. I'm done. Now I can conquer my mind. Next day, he's sitting all straight in his posture. His eyes are closed, his ears are closed, his nose is closed, but his mind is not closed. His mind is thinking, I wonder if that girl has passed by today. So you see, it's not your eyes, your ears, your nose, whatever it is. It's your mind that is constantly torturing you and troubling you. So you see how difficult it is. That is why when Krishna talks about this way of controlling the mind, Arjuna is complaining. He's saying, Oh Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. So you may think, oh, if I go to the forest, if I go to the mountains, mind will be completely relaxed. No, you're taking your enemy with you. What makes you think that your enemy is on vacation? You may be thinking, I'm going on vacation. And then your mind is not going to allow you to be on vacation. That's how challenging the mind is. So unless you can abandon your mind behind and then go to the forest, okay, then maybe you have some chance of succeeding. But you're taking your enemy with you wherever you go. So Arjuna is saying in the next shloka, Chanchalam himanah Krishna pramathe balavadhridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayor iva sudushkaram. The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna. And to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. Here is the most famous archer that we've ever heard about in this universe, who had such high levels of concentration that all he could see was only the eye on the bird, and he was able to aim his arrow towards that eye. Such a person with such high levels of concentration is telling Krishna, I can't control my mind, but I can control the wind. So Arjuna is saying, Ayate Shraddha Yopeto Yoga Chalita Manasaha Aprapya Yoga Samsiddhim Kam Gatim Krishna Gacchati. So this is the concluding section of the 6th chapter. So to conclude the previous section, when Arjuna says, Krishna, you're asking me to control my mind, I don't think that is something that we should even try to do, because it's almost impossible. Krishna says, yes, I agree, it's not easy to control the mind, but Krishna says, Abhyasena hita kaunteya. Krishna is saying, with abhyasa it is possible. What does the word abhyasa mean?
Practice.
Practice.
Practice. So Krishna is saying you have to keep practicing, keep practicing, keep practicing. And then one more advice Krishna gives Arjuna is Vairagyena. One is you should practice controlling your mind. 2 is you should become detached from the mind. You should just look at your mind as a fool number 1. The problem is we have become the mind. So Krishna is asking you to practice Vairagya, detachment from your mind. Don't respond to your mind. Your mind is like a monkey. So here in the final section, as we said, Arjuna is worried, first of all, I can't control my mind. You're asking me to do all of this. Forget it. And then suddenly Arjuna is thinking there must have been some yogis in the past who could not control their mind even though they practiced. So what happened to them? So Arjuna uvacha ayate shraddhayo peto yoga chalita manasa aprapya yoga samsiddhim kam gatim Krishna gacchati. Arjuna said, oh Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist? Transcendentalist means somebody who's pursuing the path of spirituality. What if he's unsuccessful? And Arjuna is even more specific, who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith. Yesterday we were saying without faith, nothing can happen. You must have some faith. Faith, then intelligence comes, then your faith becomes stronger. So Arjuna is saying in the beginning, somebody may have thought, okay, I will practice Ashtanga Yoga. With full determination, they had all faith that the process will work. If they follow the instructions of Guru, they will be successful. but who later desists due to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism. This is an example of Shaubari Muni getting distracted. So many years he was underwater doing tapas. Just seeing the fish got him completely distracted from his goal. He became worldly minded. Just by looking at the fish, he thought, I too want a partner to mate with. That was the end of his tapas. So this is the question Arjuna asks. What happens to yogis, rishis, munis like this? They've all gone to the forest or they've all practiced some type of austerity. But suddenly they got distracted. What happens to them? So Krishna is saying, Tatratam buddhi sanyogam labhate paurva dehikam yatate chatato bhuyah samsiddhau gurunandana. On taking such a birth, he revives the divine consciousness of his previous life. And he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success, O son of Guru. So to answer Arjuna's question, Krishna is saying, there are a couple of shlokas we have skipped for paucity of time. Krishna is saying they will take birth in pious families or in aristocratic families where they will continue doing their transcendental practice. That means in the next Janma, they'll pick up where they left off. And an example is given here in the picture. You see Jada Bharat. In his previous life, he was Bharat Maharaj, the ruler of India. And at a very young age, he decides to give up his kingdom and go focus on meditation. So he hands over his kingdom to his very young son and walks off into the forest to practice transcendental path. But somewhere along the way, he got attached to a deer. He forgot his spiritualism. So at the time of death, all he could think was, who's going to take care of this little deer that I've been taking care of for so long? If I die, what will happen to this deer? So immediately in his next birth, he becomes a deer. Why? Because his consciousness was thinking about the animal. His consciousness was not thinking of Krishna. But Krishna is so kind. Even though he went to a lower species, Krishna made sure that as a deer, he was in the ashram of rishis. So even as a deer, the Lord gave him remembrance of his previous life. And therefore, in his next life, he is born as Jada Bharat. Jada meaning he deliberately decides from birth that he will not talk to anybody. He will act like he is mad. So nobody will trouble him. So that he never gets distracted. So he puts on a show of being completely mad. Because if he acts normal, he may get distracted again. He may end up doing something else. So essentially, Krishna is saying in the shloka, whatever little spiritual practice that you do will not go to waste. In your next life, you will continue from where you left off. Therefore, you need not worry. Even if you chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra only once, you are guaranteed to take a human birth in your next life, and you're guaranteed to continue with your spiritual journey in your next life. So now, Arjuna's question is, what if I only uttered Hare Krishna Mahamantra once? And what if I have uttered Hare Krishna Mahamantra and I have done it for a lifetime? Or any other spiritual path that is a bona fide path as explained by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita between Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga and Jnana Yoga. What if I practice something for a short time? What if I practice something for a long time and both times I'm unsuccessful? So Krishna says, well, if you've practiced devotional service for a very long time, then definitely you will take birth in a family that is already practicing spirituality. Therefore, from birth itself, you are reintroduced to spirituality. But if you've only practiced this for a short time, Krishna says, then I have to reward you. So to reward you, I will send you to heavenly planets like Swargaloka, where you'll really enjoy yourself. After you've exhausted your credits of enjoying yourself, you'll come back, but you'll take birth in a rich family or a pious family. So there is even a difference between how long you have practiced something. If you've practiced bhakti yoga for a long time, and at the end of this life, somehow or the other, you have not successful. Krishna is saying, don't worry. Definitely your next birth, you will be born in a devotee family itself. So you will simply continue wherever you left. But if you practiced it for a short time, you will get some rewards. And then you'll take birth again. But at least I will guarantee that you'll either be born in a family of Brahmanas. So at least culturally, you'll be exposed to the right culture. Or you'll be born in such a rich family, you don't have to worry about your earning a living. You can just from a young age itself, you can start practicing bhakti. So that is what Krishna is saying here. So if at all you're practicing bhakti today, please assume it is because you have practiced bhakti earlier in your previous life. So there is material success and then there is spiritual success. A devotee is always worried and thinking about their spiritual success. A devotee does not care about material gains or material losses. Therefore, in summary, if you have taken birth in a good family, as Krishna is saying here, then you can assume you performed some little bit bhakti in your previous life. So this particular chapter concludes with Krishna talking about and expressing his opinion about different yogis, different types of yogis. There are also different caliber of devotees. In this picture, you see Prahlad being attacked. When you hear the word Prahlad, what thoughts come to your mind? What thoughts come to your mind?
A devotee
devotion.
connected to the God.
A devotee?
Connected to the God.
Devotee connected to the Lord. Okay, very nice. What else? What qualities are you thinking of?
Pure devotion.
Okay, what does that mean? Pure devotee?
Without
Can't see
distraction.
anything except God.
He does not expect anything.
He does not don't see anything except God.
He does not see?
Anything except God.
He does not see anything except God. Very nice. Even in a pillar, he saw God. And hence God said, my devotee is seeing me in the pillar. I have to come out of that pillar now. What else can you think of?
A lesson? A lesson?
Is a man of faith and devotion, symbol of faith, devotion.
A child of faith and devotion. But what is the one characteristic of Prahlad that is so unique?
He is not distracting to others.
He is not distracting or distracting. Okay. What else? It's very unusual.
Tolerance?
Huh?
Namasmarana.
Tolerance?
Namasmarana.
Namasmarana. Okay, yes, he's always thinking of the Lord. Tolerate. Yes, that's a good word. But I was looking for something very close to that.
Humble?
Humble. He never complains. Not once did he say, Narayana, why are you doing this to me? He's just 5 years old. How much was he tortured? Yes, he tolerates, he never complains. He never tells the Lord, how could you do this to your 5-year-old child? He never tells the Lord, I didn't do anything wrong. Why have you given me a father who's torturing me like this? He never tells the Lord, I'm an innocent child. Whatever the Lord sends him, he does not forget his bhakti. Yes, so he's always doing namasmarana. How many of us can be like that? Very difficult. So even amongst devotees, you will see a variety of devotees. But Prahlad Maharaj is exceptional because he tolerates, he never complains. Did Draupadi complain to Krishna?
No.
No? Did she not ask Krishna why you didn't come earlier?
No, Mataji.
Draupadi does not ask Krishna during the Vastraharan. Later on, she asks Krishna, why did you not come right away? And Krishna says, because you didn't call me right away. You were calling to your husband, you were calling to the elders, you were trying to use your own strength to protect yourself. You didn't think of me first. Only when you think of the Lord, he will come. No? Gajendra thought,
Why this
God.
happens that only when we call, then only God comes.
Yes,
Because God is the Father of all of us.
that's
He
correct.
can come without calling us, no?
Huh?
Just like our parents.
Yes, if you're obedient, he will come without you even asking. If you're disobedient and you've pushed him away, then the Lord is thinking, should I really disturb that person because they have rejected me anyway? So he'll wait for you to call. That's an interesting question you raised. So the greatest devotee of all times is Prahlad. Because no matter what happened, he was not distracted from thinking about them.
One quality is also that he didn't ask anything from
He did not ask.
Krishna when after killing his father. And Krishna asked, what do you want? He just said, I don't want to forget you. Nothing else.
Yes. Yes. So the Lord wants to show us what a great devotee Prahlad is. So to the last two shlokas where Krishna is going to express his opinion about different types of yogis. And he's putting them in a ladder. Tapasvibhyo dhiko yogi, jnanibhyo pimato dhikaha, karmibhyascha dhiko yogi, tasmat yogi bhavarjuna. A yogi is greater than the ascetic. An example of an ascetic is Prahlad's father, Hiranyakashipu. An ascetic is someone who practices a great deal of austerity because they want something material. So here, Krishna is saying, in my opinion, a yogi is better than an ascetic. Because at least a yogi is trying to connect with me. An ascetic is only doing intense tapas because they want something from me. So Krishna is acknowledging ascetic is also actually thinking of him somehow or the other, but for their own selfish reasons. So if you had to compare a yogi to an ascetic, Krishna is saying a yogi is better. So a yogi is greater than the ascetic. Greater than the empiricist means somebody who's studying the Vedas. A yogi is better than the Vedantist. And a yogi is greater than a karma kandi. Therefore, O Arjuna, in all circumstances be a yogi. It means if you are the kind of person who likes to do a lot of austerity, Krishna is saying, I'm not interested. If you are deeply studying philosophy and speculating, Krishna said, I am not interested. If you are chasing all kinds of material desires, Krishna is saying, I'm not interested. Krishna is saying, always you should try to unite with me. Therefore, Arjuna, in all circumstances, be a yogi. And to the last shloka, it may be very difficult to understand all of these chapters. But if you understood the last shloka and if you understand this shloka, you have understood Krishna's mood. Here Krishna is saying, Yoginam api sarvesham madgate nantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktatamo mataha. And of all yogis, so Krishna has compared the yogi to the ascetic, to the empiricist, and to karmakandi. Now Krishna is going to compare different types of yogis itself, right? Because Krishna has advised Arjuna, if at all you want to choose a path where you are attempting to unite with me, to come back to me. Don't try to be a tapasvi, don't try to be a philosopher, don't try to be a materialistic person. But there are also different types of yogis. So here Krishna is saying, and of all the yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. So Krishna is saying, if you compare a Nishkama Karma yogi to a Jnana yogi to a Bhakta, my Bhakta, first of all, has faith in me. And because he has faith in me, he is always thinking of me. Not only is he thinking of me, he is doing some service to me. Such a kind of yogi who's practicing bhakti yoga, Krishna says, has the most intimate relationship with me. And therefore, in my opinion, because he has a very intimate relationship with me, he is the highest of all yogis. So emphatically in this shloka, Krishna has set the stage to speak about bhakti yoga in the next 6 chapters, starting with chapter 7. So with this shloka, we have ended the first 6 chapters, Karma Yoga. But now Krishna is going to be ready to talk about his devotees, devotion, and also himself. Because Krishna has defined the yogic science, the transcendental science, as that science that talks about the relationship between Bhagavan and Bhakta in the form of bhakti. The relationship is bhakti. Relationship means 2 different individuals having a relationship with each other. Here it is the Bhakta performing bhakti to have a relationship with Bhagavan. So now we are going to go to the Sloka and the Bhagavatam that really emphasizes the importance of chanting. So this is the 6th canto of the Bhagavatam, the 3rd chapter in the 22nd shloka. Etavaneva lokesmin pumsam dharmah parasmritah bhakti yogo bhagavati tannama grahanadhibihi. Devotional service beginning with the chanting of the holy name of the Lord is the ultimate religious principle for the living entity in human society. The shloka bhakti begins with chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So here in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is clearly said bhakti begins with japa, doing your nama japa. So we'll conclude with a nice pastime. So there was a king who wanted to understand what was the essence of all of the Vedic scriptures. And he was talking to so many different people. Somehow or the other, he was not getting the right answer. So he decided he will do a little reward. So he tied up some gold coins in a piece of cloth and hung it up. And he said, whoever gives the right answer, that bag of gold will fall down automatically and they can accept that as their reward. So this was a king in Madurai. So his name was King Vallabha. So what did King Vallabha want to know? What is the meaning of the Vedas? Can somebody just give me the essence? I don't have time to read all the Vedic scriptures. Rig Veda, Sama Veda, Yajur Veda, Atharva Veda. Who has time for all of that? So somehow or the other, his ministers say, well, we know our great Vedantas. Let's call them. You pose this question to them. I'm sure they will be able to give you the answer that you're seeking. But no matter what, none of the great Vedantists answered in such a way where that gold bag fell. So the king now was getting obsessed. The bag has not fallen. Nobody has given the answer that was satisfactory. So in his dream, the Lord appears in the king's dream and tells the king, there is a very nice personality in your own city, Madurai. Go call for him. He will tell you the essence of the Vedas. So in that city, there was a very pious young man whose name was Vishnu Siddha. And his seva was to make garlands for Lord Krishna. So the king's instruction in the dream was to go get this Vishnu Siddha, who is just an ordinary person who makes garlands for the Lord. This is a garland seva. The king was told, go call this person. So the ministers go looking for this person. This person's ordinary man says, I don't know anything about the Vedas. Why is the king calling me? I'm just happy doing my garland seva for the Lord. That night the Lord appears in the dream of Vishnu Siddha and encourages him, no, you go talk to the king. I will help you. And the man was thinking, how am I going to help? I don't know. I've never studied the Vedas in my life. But anyway, since the Lord himself had come and instructed him as well in the dream, he decides to go. And as he enters the assembly, just looking at him, his physical condition and how he was dressed, everybody starts laughing at him. Thinking, look at this dunce. The king has gone and picked up somebody who knows nothing about the Vedas, and look at him so confidently, he's walking into the assembly. They said, the Raja is calling you. Did you not have the good sense to just refuse? But anyway, the Raja poses him the question, Vallabha Raja, what is the essence of the Vedas? So Vishnu Siddha responds, the essence of all of the Vedas is to understand who is God, how to love him, and how to serve him. And the minute he says that, the bag falls. So all the great Vedantists gave all kinds of philosophical answers. And here comes a simple man whose only seva was to offer and make garlands for the Lord. And he understood the essence of the Vedas, and he explained it in such a sublime manner. Vedas means to understand who is God. Once you've understood who is God, then the only thing that is left to do is how to love him, how to serve him. That's the essence of the Vedas. You don't have to go beyond this. So now the Raja decides, I finally got the answer from the most unsuspecting of sources. So the Raja sits Vishnu Siddha on top of an elephant and parades him around the city until he reaches the gates of the temple. The Lord is so happy that Vishnu Siddha was able to answer the query of the king. The Lord himself personally comes out to see his devotee going on an elephant procession. And when Vishnu Siddha sees the Lord standing at the door of the temple looking at him, he composes many, many songs and verses. And he tells the Lord, don't come out, people will put drishti on you. I'm afraid for you. You please go back in. Be safe. We think bhakti means to offer something to the Lord, and that the Lord in return will save us. But a pure devotee's mood with the Lord is very different. A pure devotee thinks, I don't want the Lord to be harmed or injured. I want to protect the Lord. I want to save the Lord. So there is a role reversal that is happening between a devotee and the Lord. So much so the devotee is more concerned about the Lord than the Lord is concerned about the devotee. So to get to this stage of love for the Lord, you have to chant all the time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And as the last shloka that we looked at on the slide clearly said, everything begins with, your devotional journey begins with chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So for the rest of our life, we should all take a sankalpa that this is what we will do. We will do Nama Japa. It doesn't matter how dirty that heart is of yours. You just keep doing Nama Japa, Nama Japa, Nama Japa. One day you'll find out that your heart is purified. And when your heart is purified, you see everything very differently. You no longer have hatred towards others, no anger towards others. Actually, you'll have a lot of compassion towards others. You will want to serve others more. You will want to serve the devotees more. So this now sets the stage for chapter 7 tomorrow. And chapter 7 will begin with the Bhakti Yoga section, chapter 7 to 12. So what was the single word summary for the 6th chapter today? What did the slide or the poster say?
Thinking, meditation.
Meditation. So if you want to achieve a karma, you have to learn to control the mind. If you don't control the mind, you are in trouble. Okay, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Any questions? Okay, there seems to be some question.
Jai Shri Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Kajal, you have a question?
The Mahamantra chant, there it is Hare Krishna and Hare Rama. I have heard that Hare means Radharani.
Yes.
And people believe that Hare Rama is Sri Ram. But someone told me that is not Ram here. That is Krishna Ramanam, something like that. What it is?
Radha Raman.
Can you just explain what it is?
Yeah, so in the Mahamantra, the word Hare is calling out to Srimati Radharani as the mother. Rama means, the word Rama means somebody who brings a lot of joy, a lot of bliss. So that is Radha Raman. This is another name for Krishna, is Rama. And Krishna means someone who is all attractive. Therefore, we are all attracted to Krishna's pastimes, especially his childhood pastimes. You've never heard of Vishnu having childhood pastimes, have you?
No.
Vishnu doesn't have a baby form crawling around performing pastimes, no. So Radha Raman, someone who brings a lot of joy and bliss to others. So yes, Rama is another name for Krishna. But for those who have attachment to Lord Ram, Prabhupada said, you can also say Rama is Lord Ram or Lord Balaram or Parashuram. But in Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, this word Rama is non-different than Krishna. It's just another name for Krishna. Okay, but other philosophies may say this name represents Lord Ram, yeah, or even Lord Balaram, or even Parashuram. But Gaudiya Vaishnavas accept that Rama is just referencing Krishna. All right, so there is a question in the chat. How can we know if our mind is indicating some work or if Paramatma is guiding us or giving us the thoughts? Well, that should be relatively easy to do, because generally your conscience is always guiding you to the right path. And if you reach a stage in your life where you can understand the subtleties between what may be more right than less right, then you know whether it is your Paramatma that is guiding you or if your mind is just tricking you, you know. So it will be situational. So you have to observe the situation that you're in and what is your mind suggesting that you do. If your mind is suggesting to do something that is Shastric, based on Shastra, then you can say that the Lord is guiding you from within. And it's not something that is being imposed on you by your mind. Yeah. So it will take a lot of chanting, it will take a lot of reading to understand and get to the point where you're able to figure out, is your mind trying to trick you or is Krishna trying to guide you? It'll take some time. For that, you have to do quite a bit of chanting. So your intuition, as they say, will become very sharp over a period of time. Okay, there's another question. Is there any particular time we need to meditate and how long do we need to meditate? Should we follow any guided meditation? The ideal time to meditate is always going to be during the Brahma Muhurta time. Brahma Muhurta time is an hour and 45 minutes before sunrise. So generally speaking, it should be between 4:15 to probably 5:45, 6 o'clock, like that. So that is Brahma Muhurta time. That's the best time to meditate. Of course, you can meditate all the time if you want. But if you want to really experience some powerful results, then you have to do it during Brahma Muhurta time. Once you practice doing that, it's very easy to get up on time and do it. Should we follow any guided meditation? Yeah, we will teach you how to chant using the beats. And in level 2, when you come to level 2, we will teach you the do's and don'ts also. Okay, there's another question. How will we know that we are growing in spirituality? What happens when you are truly in spirituality? You will know you're growing in spirituality because you'll become more and more attached to Krishna and more detached from other things. Then you know you're growing in spirituality. Your material desires and wants will reduce or be non-existent. And all you can think of is how much seva can you do for the pleasure of Krishna. Then you know you're growing spiritually. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Did Pradeep, Prabhu, did you have any question? No? Okay. All right. Wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us. We will see you tomorrow. Vancha kalpatarupyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki jai. Thank you very much for joining us. Hari Bol. We will see you tomorrow. Okay.
Hare Krishna. Thank you
Hare
so
Krishna.
much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna. Hare Krishna Kajal. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Sajat.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Mataji.
Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.